Hey everybody, it's me again. It's me again. It's roller coaster ride again. How you doing, everybody? We got one viewer. I believe I can be seen, I can be heard, and everything's cool. Everything is cool. Who's watching? Anybody I know? I don't know what's going on with my mixing desk. It's going crazy. All the LEDs are. Yeah, I've got the right switch on for the microphone. I'm in my armchair. Today, so it's a bit more relaxing. Let's see. Let's have one of these things. Hey, this thing's finally tuned in. It's nice. I would like to swap this guitar. For a Yamaha. I wanna swap this guitar. It's a Fender. Swap it for a Yamaha. It's telling me, please check the video resolution. The current resolution is 1092 times 614. I don't know none of that crap. I'm not wise to that. Hey, this is more comfortable sitting in an armchair, but I've got to get right up to the microphone. Or have I? I don't know. Everybody, all one ear watching? Well, current viewers, concurrent viewers. Does that mean current viewers or current viewers? I don't know. Let's just this is like an intro before we get on with the talk. We're going to do a talk, folks. I'm going to be speaking. It says the same title from the last video. Fallen angels became imperialistic royal bloodlines. And I don't understand, when you go to change. Obviously, I can edit that later, But actually, this video, I had some valid points to make in my last upload, my last live stream, where I was talking about the pineal gland and its connection to lapis lazuli, right? The stone lapis lazuli. Still going. It's still saying warning. Please check the video resolution. But we're okay, aren't we? I'm out. Stream health. Let's check the stream health. Let's see what's going on. This is a pain in the butt. It says warning again. Stream is healthy, right? The stream is healthy. What's check the resolution. Okay, we still only got one viewer. Is it anyone I know? Is it anyone who knows me? Please let me know so that I know you can hear me and the sound's okay, because I'm not too sure about all this techno stuff anymore. The older I get, the less I care. I hate computers. I bloody hate computers. I mean, I can hear myself in my headphones, only in one ear. And there's something wrong with my sockets on my headphones. I don't know what it is. These strings have only just stretched and settled. I forgot, like. Oh. Alright, there's only one person watching, and well, okay. Alright, by the way, it doesn't matter. All that matters is we get this this thing in the case, in the bag. And what I was going to talk about, oh man, what was I going to say about oh yeah, that was it. By the at the end of, I got distracted, you see, because people were talking to me on the stream, and I was forgetting what you know, my actual point of the speech, like, in the last one. And when I was talking about that stuff, lapis lazuli, the stone lapis lazuli, anyone who wants to experiment, buy a piece of this stuff, right? Lie on your back. Right, lie on your back in your, you know, in your bed, where you just lie down with some tunes on or something, or get some music on your stereo in your room, relax, and just place it on the top of your forehead. Just rest it on your forehead, right? And you should get an alignment between the stone and your pineal gland, because there's like a plumb line, you know, because you're lying on your back and that's on your head like that. And it's a crazy thing, man. It's something I discovered by accident. And another mad discovery by accident I once found, is I remember lying on my back on my bed, I was listening to Liszt, actually, you know, the classical pianist Liszt, and one of his pieces of music, I can't remember the actual piece, what it's called, but it actually made me, you know, it drew, you know, when you're listening to music and it makes you cry with joy. I don't mean like, I mean like, you know, you know, tears emerge because of the sound of something. Well, I can hear the noise out there. Some motorbike just went mad. A motorbike just went past dead fast, and then there's police sirens, so could be another police chase. I've got a clip I want to put on YouTube, what I filmed a couple of days ago, of chaos in the street. You know, it's like Harry Brown. You know the film Harry Brown, like? And you know the way Harry Brown looks out the window and he sees all the kids all beating each other up and stuff and acting like bellends, like, well, it's like that in the future, you know what I mean? It's going like Harry Brown. What's going on out there? Yeah, engines and that way. Well, yeah, man, this discovery, but I'll get back to where I was. Where was I? I was lying on my back once, listening to Liszt, you know, the pianist Liszt. Plays the piano amazing, like, right. And the piece of music I was listening to was really emotional and moving. This was a good few years ago, this, right, guys? This was about 20 years ago, I think. Maybe 15, 20 years ago, I'm not sure. And by accident, I didn't have headphones on, you see. Usually I wear headphones in bed when I listen to music, right? And because I was listening to music on a stereo, this cassette recorder, you know what I mean? I was lying on my back, right? Listen to this for the discovery, man. I don't know if anyone's been onto this. Like, this was an accidental discovery, right? Going on out there? I was lying on my back listening to this classical music, which was quite moving and emotional and powerful, you know, when you're absorbed. And the bit of music drew tears, right? You know, you get like tears come out of your tear ducts, don't they, right? Now, most of us, when we cry, right, so I don't mean crying in sadness, so, you know, it wasn't depressed or nothing like that. I was crying at, like, you know, it just makes tears. If you're a human being, you'll have tears, won't you? You know, if you're an android, they don't know what that is like. Arnie doesn't know what tears are in Terminator, does he? We've got the helicopter now. Something's going on out there. I don't want to get up and look because I'm wearing my shorts and I don't want to be seen on camera with my smeggy shorts on, you know what I mean? Right. But anyway, I discovered by accident. This was a major discovery. My tears came out of my eyes there, right? And they rolled. And remember, your pineal gland is responsible for anything visionary, isn't it? Or anything psychological or psychotropic where you see things in your head. And it's not, there's nothing there, you know what I mean? And especially if you're drug free as well, you're not on any psychotropics or anything, right? And the tears, because I was lying on my back, the tears run down my face there like that, right, at the same time, and they run down my side of my head, right? And you know, if you look at our heads, the way they're designed, our ears are like little cups, aren't they? You know what I mean? The way they're designed, yeah, right. And me tears actually were just perfect. Me tears were lined up with me ears. Do you know, like a plumb line, what they call a plumb line? And the tears ran down the side of my head like that, right? Proper clear tears, you know what I mean? Of just pure tear stuff, right? And it went into me ears on both sides. Me tears went into me ears. Do you understand? And I didn't go like that, you see, and wipe my face or anything. I just let the tears run, you see, while I was listening to this lovely music I was absorbing, right? And I'm telling you now, mates, when them tears went into my ears and they made contact with, like, what we call earwax or whatever's in there, you know what I mean, the natural stuff. I don't get much earwax since I stopped eating chips and meat and stuff. There's a lot of earwax build up, man. I'll do a talk about that sometime. Listen, the helicopter's outside. Something chaotic is going on. There's a car chase. Well, anyway, there was like an explosion as soon as the tears made contact with what's inside my ears. It was like, and I got this like really amazing feeling and sensation, almost a visionary experience. And I was like, wow, there's something in our tears that must, and you know, look at the human ear, the way it's lined up with our head, with our eyes. It's lined up perfectly. So when we're lying on our backs, the tears will run down into our ears, you know what I mean? Give it a try. Let your tears run into your ears and see what I mean. You might... And I think it's like God put it in us to, like, help us relax, you know what I mean? You know, if you're upset or something upsets you and you cry a lot or whatever, your tears run into your ears and it makes you feel better. It's weird, man. Strange accidental discovery. I know, but, you know, I was the first to discover it, man. Well, hey. Today's speech, anyway, back to the point. I'll take a little bit of time building up, guys, because in case anyone joins us late, right? And it's quite early, so I've got a bit of time. It's 1 minute past 9. Time check. It's 1 minute past 9 UK time. UK, and those of you in America, I'm not sure what time you're on or whatever at the moment. So it says 20:54 on my TV, like, so it's 5 to 9 on the 15th of September. Isn't it the helicopter? Something's going. There's a motorbike chase. Birkenhead. The helicopter's out. The police helicopter's out. Bit of action in Birkenhead. But yeah, anyway, me speech, this talk, this live speech. I did a speech a while back about, like, me dog and me dad, the connection and the relationship between me old man, me dad, me old man, and the family dog, Duke the Nuke, the lunatic, who is now deceased. And I've got to conclude that speech. I've got to tell you how it ended for Duke and stuff like that. But in between this, we're going to talk about me old man and something really interesting about me old man, which I think you would like to hear about, which is quite a funny story, really. This is the truth, right? Okay, I don't know who's watching, how many we've got. We've still just got one live viewer. If it's someone I know, make yourself known so I know who you are, and so I know you're not a robot. Right, anyway. The question, I've got the question for it. I'm thinking of later on when this is replayed and people catch up to it later on. But this is a question for anybody who watches this, right? Either watching now or later on. Would you give your parents, right, or your mother or your father, right? If your father or your mother, right, but my mum would categorically not, she wouldn't get stoned, she would hardly drink, she didn't like drinking much. My mum was kind of like a nun. She didn't really like doing those things, right? She'd have a little bevy with me from time to time. I'd buy some nice quality wine or some Pernod or something like that. But she wasn't really a drinker or she wasn't into getting high. But my old man, he was a sailor. He'd been in the Navy. And, he enjoyed his drink and he was up for the laugh, if you know what I mean, right? So I did experiments with him. I tried him toking a bit of weed, right? And he liked it. He got to like it. He kind of sort of, the joy in it, the fun or whatever. And he was 70-something, right, guys? He was over 70, right? Now, here's the question. Would you give your old man, your parents, especially your old man, if he was in his 70s, right, would you give your old man a magic mushroom trip? That's the question, like. Would you give your dad, your father, your old man, would you give your dad a magic mushroom trip? Right, now I did an experiment with my dad. What I did was I thought, okay, if he can handle an acid trip, right? This is like, because he was bored and he wanted something to spice his life. Do you know what I mean? He wanted something to at least. He was bored. He was kind of fed up with life because he was getting on a bit. You know what I mean? Whoa, the helicopters are here. I could be missing like gunshots and everything in the street there, gangsters and everything. I'm doing this. You hear that? Oh my word. Don't want to get up and have a look because I've got shorts on. That's the back door there, you see. When I go to that door, you'll see my really bad smeggy shorts which I wear around the house like tracksuits, you know what I mean? But I don't clean them or nothing, so they got like poo on the back of them and everything. No, I'm only joking. They're a bit smeggy, you know what I mean? But anyway, I tested me dad, right? I tested him with like getting stoned first. I'm thinking, yeah, he's okay with that, right? I knew he could handle his ale, don't I? Because he drank me under the table enough times, do you know what I mean, right? So I thought, okay, I'll try him with an acid trip, you know what I mean? And I gave him half an acid tab, right, to try it, like, and he laughed his head off at the telly and stuff. He found it quite funny, you know what I mean? He was, when I went in to check on him, like, I was like, are you okay with that, Dad? You all right? He was going, the cows are talking on the telly. The flipping cows are talking on the telly. That's what he saw on the news, someone was talking and the cows will look like they were all talking to the camera and that, like, on his LSD trip, right? Right. But I was building up thinking, I'm going to give me dad a mushroom trip, right? And not only am I going to give me dad a magic mushroom trip, I'm going to do them myself with him so that we're both tripping and I'm on the mushrooms as well at the same time. That was it was a psychotropic experiment, shall we say. I should straighten this camera up a little bit. Don't know why, like, it just doesn't matter really, does it? So anyway, I thought to myself, I've got to give me arm on. And my biggest regret is I didn't have a video camera, you know what I mean? And I didn't record it, like, but which is a bit like, I was a bit silly there. Not, I should have had a camera to video it, you know what I mean? Me dad tripping on mushrooms, but why I didn't think of getting a video camera, especially for it, I don't know. But anyway, I built up to it, like, I got his mind ready for it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give him some magic mushrooms. I'm going to see what happens, right? 70-something. I'm not sure whether he was 71 or 72. He was over 70, right? He was getting on a bit, you know what I mean? His teeth were falling out. He was fed up. He was a grey-haired old man, right? And I thought, wouldn't it be funny to give him a mushroom trip and see how he acts like, you know what I mean? But I wasn't just going to do it like, I wanted to be tripping myself on the mushrooms with my old man for the full experience of comedy, right? Because it could have gone bad. It could have been a bad trip, do you understand? It could have gone tragic, but I was prepared to take that risk, right? So anyway, I went up to my dad and I said, like, would you do a mushroom trip, Dad? You know what I mean? Would you have one, like? And he was like, yeah, all right, I'll do a mushroom trip if you get them for me. Yeah, all right, I'll do it, yeah. I was like, all right, man, okay. So one of the lads who lived in where we were living, like, he came with me to the golf course, and we picked a load of mushrooms, extra mushrooms. You know, we picked extra, you know, especially for me dad, kind of thing. So the person that picked the mushrooms with me, he was like an accomplice, or what's the word, accessory to the fact. We broke the law, man. We could have sent him on a bad one, but we didn't. This is the funny thing about it. Neither of us cared. We both thought, wouldn't it be funny watching an old geezer tripping, man? We didn't even have any, you know, like, it was quite selfish of us, really, to even think of it, wasn't it, really? But we were thinking, maybe he'll enjoy this, you know what I mean? So we picked a load of mushrooms, magic mushrooms. This was about, oh man, what year was it, man? I'm not sure the actual year, like, well, it's a good few years back now, like, you know. And we went to the golf course, picked extra mushrooms, and we got back to mine, and I was basically keen to do my mushroom trip no matter whatever, like, you know, because I usually do. I haven't done them for a long time, guys, you know what I mean? I put the last mushroom trip I did, I bought them, you know, from America, what they called, from Ecuadorian they were, and I had a wonderful experience, you know. What I grew myself, I grew my own mushrooms. I've got it on video, by the way. It's not on YouTube, is it? But anyway, I said to me dad, we're going to get the mushrooms to, you know, this week, like, so, you know, be prepared and that. And he's going, okay, all right. So we goes to the golf course. We get hundreds of mushrooms. We got loads of them, right? Is a helicopter still there, man? Right. We got all the magic mushrooms we needed. Enough for me, enough for me dad, right? And the lad who picked them with me, he'd had such a bad experience in his past, like, he was never going to do mushrooms ever again, basically. But he was interested in the science of them, and you know, whatever, all the scientific facts about mushrooms, the chemistry of them and whatever, like. And he was proper intrigued, thinking, wow, Bruce is going to really give his arm on a trip, like, I want to be there and see this, you know what I mean? Right. So anyway, there was my mum watching television, as she normally did, sitting there watching the telly. My dad's sitting there watching the telly. And I went into the kitchen, right, and the first thing, the lads hadn't knocked on the door yet. Do you know, the lad who's, you know, who helped me pick the mushrooms, he still hadn't called round, right? And then I can't remember one of the, oh yeah, I got a pan, and I made 2 cups of tea, basically. I put a lot of mushrooms in there, guys, you know what I mean? I wasn't even thinking, like, you know, like 30 is safe, and 40 is safe, and 50 is safe. I actually thought, like, if I'm going to give my old man a mushroom trip, it could be the last trip he has. It's his first trip, and it could be his last, who knows, right? And I want to make sure it's, like, amazing, do you get me? Like, so I put a lot of mushrooms in the pan, right, and I boiled this tea, extracted all the liquid from them and that, like, and I made us both a cup of tea, kind of thing, right? And I knew it was going to blow his mind. And I was used to them, remember, so it didn't really matter with me, you know what I mean? So I put the mushrooms in a cup for him. I went into the living room and went, look, it tastes horrible, Dad, you know what I mean? But you got to drink it all, you know what I mean? But this will send you into space, right? So I gave him the mushrooms, and I drank mine, and he drank all of it, right? And he's going, yeah, okay, you know, I'll wait for it, like, see what happens, right? And then, basically, I went into the back room, and I was kind of like, as they were kicking in, I started going into my usual, like, I used to kind of, like, whenever I'd done a mushroom trip, I'd kind of, like, carry on from where I left off, kind of thing, you know what I mean? There'd be this kind of, like, whoop, right, I remember the last time I was tripping now, and blah, blah, blah. So I remember kind of walking into the garden and walking around, and it was starting to kick in, you know, and I was having a kind of emotional journey. I was speaking to people who were supposed to be dead and all. It was kind of like kicking in, and it was starting to, I knew what was going to happen. I was thinking, I'm going to have a sort of serious, like, spiritual trip here again, you know what I mean? The more I got into, like, biblical issues, the more biblical my trips got, you know what I mean? So it was always serious. It wasn't like, what do you call it, like, it wasn't psychedelic or hippie-like whatsoever. Eventually, with me, it became like a serious spiritual journey, usually, when I was on mushrooms. So anyway, they started kicking in, and then there's a knock on the door, and one of the lads arrives, or both of them. I'm not sure it was one of them or both of them. Anyway, but lads came, knocked on the door. One of them who picked the mushrooms with me, and he was like, "How's it going?" And that, like, you know what I mean? I went, "I've given me dad the mushrooms." He's going, "Nah, you haven't have you?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's took them. He's actually drank the tea, like, you know, the full cup of tea, like." And he's, you know. So he was in the back room with me talking, like we were in the back room where the garden is, and I usually stand up and walk outside and look at the stars and things like that when when the mushrooms start kicking in, right? And I didn't think to go in the living room. They were kicking in with me and I was starting to trip. Do you understand, right? So anyway, I was like, and I realised, I thought, oh my word, I've done a lot of mushrooms in this mix, and I didn't count them enough, and there could have been like, say, 100 each, maybe 200 each. I didn't even know. I just put them all in, you know what I mean, and boiled it, like. Right, so I was talking to these lads, or one of the lads. I'm sure it was only one of them there, and the second lad arrived a little bit later, right? But anyway, I was talking to one of them, and remember, he's not tripping enough, and he's not on my, you know, he wasn't in the dimension I was in, but I could still communicate with him and talk to him, and, you know, I was crying and all kinds of stuff a bit later on, because I was, you know, I was having quite an emotional journey, right? But that's another matter anyway, right? Well, anyway, I remember talking to him and that, like, and he's going, "Nah, have you actually given the mushrooms, Bruce?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Yeah, man," you know, and it's like, this old man is in the living room, and we don't know what's behind that door. We don't know if he's going to flip out, call an ambulance, whatever. Do you get me? Like, right? And then I remember talking to the lad, and then I walked into the garden, right? And they were starting to kick in, like, proper. The mushrooms were starting to kick in, you know what I mean? And I remember just looking up at the stars, right? I was looking up at the stars, and they looked amazing, you know, the way everything looks brilliant and clear, and, you know, I could just see hundreds of stars, like, you know what I mean? I was just looking up at them, and I'd completely forgot about my dad. I completely forgot that my dad was tripping, do you understand, right? So I'm looking up, like, going, wow, staring at these stars, man. And then the next thing, right, you know, I knew that my Alman's mushrooms were kicking in because of the signal I got, you know, because obviously we've got ESP, you know what I mean? You know, I definitely came from my Alman's bollock bag, you know what I mean? That's all I know. There's one thing I know is I definitely came from my Alman's ball bag, that's for sure, right? But anyway, I was looking up at the stars, right, and it was as though, you know, because my dad was simultaneously, his mushrooms were kicking in, but he's a 70-something-year-old guy having his very first magic mushroom trip, right? I walked around saying, wow, about 10 million times. I was just, wow, 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 wow. You know, that was what happened to me on my very first mushroom trip when I was 16, 17 years old, right? So here's a 70-year-old or 70 plus ready to have his first trip in the living room, right? He's sitting with my mum, remember? My mum's just watching TV, normally like a drug-free, kind of drink-free woman she wouldn't have done anything, you know what I mean? And anyway, I'm looking up these stars, right? And you know Star Trek, the series Star Trek, or, you know, the films Star Trek, you know when they go into warp? You know that bit when they go into warp and all the stars go like straight lines and it goes... And it's like they time travel forward in time. Hold on, I'll just put this guitar down. Right, I think part of this was like because I was tuned into my Alman. You can hear me out there, can't you? There's two people watching. If you can hear me clearly, like, put a message up to say that you can hear me, because I'm sort of using new settings and that all the time, you know. But yeah, anyway, you know the film Star Trek, when they go into warp, they call it warp speed, don't they? And they suddenly leap forward, and it's like traveling the speed of light or something, right? And you know the way the stars all go like straight lines, right? They go... Well, that's what happened to me when I looked up at the stars. I was just looking at stars 1 minute, little silver dots, right? Next thing, it was like... And I just seen all the stars turn into straight lines, basically. And I could literally feel the whole planet Earth accelerating through space. I don't know what was happening to me. I thought that the whole Earth just suddenly travelled forward like on a rocket or something. We went into warp, right? We went into warp immediately. As soon as I seen the stars do that, because I'd never seen that before on mushrooms. I'd seen the stars looking amazing while I'm tripping and all that kind of stuff, but I'd never seen a warp speed effect in my life, right? Seeing this warp speed effect, and immediately I was like, what's happening? What's going on? I was looking at the stars, tripping, thinking, what's happening? What have I done? What just happened there? And you know, they're still moving. The stars are still going. The whole Earth is travelling like light speed through space, right? And I immediately thought, oh no, me dad, what have I done? You know what I mean? Immediately, I actually, let's put it this way, I don't want to swear, you know, in case anyone watches this that doesn't like swear words, but I could have easily soiled me trousers in a moment, you know what I mean? I could have just gone with absolute fear, because I thought something colossal was going on in space, right? And I thought, and I've gone and given me old man, this 70-year-old man, a load of magic mushrooms, you know what I mean? I was like, oh my word, I was about to soil me trousers with fear, right? I'm just looking at this thing and making sure it looks like it's going to fall off the microphone thing. Anyway, so the first thing I thought to myself, and the lad who I was talking to, he was standing in the back room still. Remember, he's not on mushrooms enough, and he's just standing there, and he's looking at me and saying, what's up, Bruce, what's up? And I just looked at him in horror. I had like this fear on my face, like, me dad, what have I done? I've given me dad mushrooms. And I went into the living room. I run into the living room thinking, expecting to see me dad going like, help, I don't understand, I'm scared, I don't know what's happening, I'm in space. You know, I was actually, you know, I was terrified that I'd really messed my dad's life up, basically, you know what I mean? And I ran into the living room. Right? And it's the same with him, he just kicked in, if you know what I mean, right? I ran into the living room, and there's my dad. He was standing up out of the chair. He'd stood up out of his chair, right? My mum was sitting on the chair looking at him, and she had tears in her eyes. She was already starting to laugh, do you understand me? When my mum had a laugh, you know, my mum liked to laugh, do you know what I mean? And she had like sort of tears in her eyes looking at my dad and say, because she was obviously watching closely, thinking, oh man, hope Bruce doesn't do anything wrong here, you know, to his old man, like. So my dad's out of the chair, and I just look at my dad and I go, Dad, is everything alright? You okay, Dad? Is everything alright? And he goes, yeah, it's flipping marvellous. He was like really, really buzzing, like really happy, like, right. And I said, is everything okay? What's up? You know what I mean? Because I'd just seen the stars warp speed, and I know it was something to do with the both of us tripping, right? Because I'd never seen that before, right? Think about it, he's 70-something, I was like 30, 40-something. 30 to 40, maybe. Between me 30s and 40s, I was. So I'm going like, are you sure you're okay, Daddy? You're alright, everything okay? And he's going, yes, it's flipping marvellous, son. I'm loving it. He was actually buzzing off it big time, right? And then he goes, and I don't know if anyone out there has ever had a mushroom trip. What happens is you get this buzz from your feet. If it's your first trip, right, you notice it the first time you're doing a mushroom trip, right? And you get this buzz that goes from your feet and it goes up your legs and up to your head. You know what I mean? It's a telltale sign of your first mushroom trip. Usually most people get it, like, you know, and it's an amazing buzz. No drug can match the buzz on magic mushrooms, guys. Nothing on this earth. No weed, no cocaine, nothing can match the buzz that you get off magic mushrooms. You know what I mean? This is assuming you play it safe and you don't mess up and do too many, right? But remember, I've done quite a lot because I was I was sharing it with my dad, wasn't I, right? So anyway, he's actually standing up, and I said, what happened? Are you okay? And in, you know, the time and when the stars did the warp speed, it was when he was starting to get the rush, like you see, and he goes like, and he actually said, I felt this flipping energy going through me feet. It went up through me legs and then right through me fucking head. That, you know, because my dad swore a lot, you know what I mean? But that was his own words. He went through me fucking head. Right, but he was buzzing, man. He was actually, and he was hallucinating. He was getting all the buzzers off it, you know what I mean, right? So I thought, okay, he's safe, you know what I mean? And I relaxed, and I thought, okay, this is going to be okay. It's going to be a good journey, this, right? And then I went back into the back room and I said to the lad, like, he's actually buzzing, he's blown away. Me dad's actually, like, he's blown away, proper, like, happy, like, he's not even bothered, man. So he was like laughing, going, wow, is he okay in that? Like, I was like, yeah, man. And then I was having all this spiritual stuff going on. I was seeing dead people going through the garden and all kinds of stuff, right? I saw like hundreds of dead people going through the garden, all looking at me going, everything's all right, Bruce, we're happy, everything's fine. I was thinking, wow, what's going on? I couldn't really explain it because I didn't tell anyone what I was seeing, but I had this full spiritual trip, right? But every now and then I'd go back into the living room to check on my dad, right, to see if he was okay, like, you know what I mean? And still exactly the same. He's like, and when my mate came into me, well, my friend comes into the living room with me to see me dad, you know what I mean? He goes, I went, yo, come on, have a look, you know what I mean? So I brought him into the living room and he was just standing there watching me dad tripping, laughing his head off, thinking, oh my word, he really is tripping, Bruce, like a 70-something on magic mushrooms. Neither of us filmed it, man. I can't believe we didn't film it, like. But my mum had tears running down her eyes, basically, like, you know, like proper tears running down her eyes. She was laughing her head off at him because he was acting like he was about 5 years old. You know what I mean? He's going, what do you mean? I can't believe it. Flipping hell. And then he started saying things to me and the lad who was with me. He was going, I can see all the crown jewels there and I'm the king and Betty, you know, Betty's me mum, like Betty was me mum's name. He's going, Betty's me queen and I'm a king and I can see all the jewels in the walls and all. Right, he was seeing all like the Celtic patterns, you see, and all the like, you know, when you trip on mushrooms, you do see like rubies and emeralds coming through the walls with like Celtic knotwork. If you got Celtic blood, and I mean, my dad definitely had Celtic blood because I get it when I see when I hallucinate, I do see a lot of Celtic knotwork, you know what I mean, like Viking or Scandinavian. Yeah, Sherry Vera is on, so funny. Yeah, right. A 70-something-year-old man. I broke the law, man. I was guilty. I actually, you know, I could have basically ruined his life if he had a bad trip, couldn't I? And my mum would never have forgave me, you know what I mean, right? So he was actually completely blown away, right? He was actually, I mean, and the full 7 hours, man. You know, it's like a 7-hour trip, isn't it? It doesn't stop for 7 hours. He enjoyed every single... So he enjoyed every single second of that trip, right, guys, right? So much so that as the night went on, he came into the back room where I was talking with the lad in the back room. We were talking and there was a mirror on one wall and a mirror on another wall. And my dad came into the back room and he was going, okay, so if I dive through that mirror and then I come out through that mirror. He was like on another level completely, you know what I mean? He was like a child. It was like watching a child. Do you know what I mean? He was completely blown away, right? And I kept going back into the living room. My mum never stopped laughing all night. And I mean, like, laughing. You know, when you see a woman, she's got tears, completely crying her eyes out, laughing because of the way he was acting and stuff, you know. And it was so much so, he enjoyed it so much. The whole night passed by, and not a bad moment, not a complaint, not a single, like... You know, with some people, you're in a room with some people and you do these things and they ruin the night because they go, I don't like it, I'm scared, and you have to, like, call everything off because someone ruins it, like, you know. Well, I was tripping, I was on another level, like, because I was used to where I was going and everything. And I was looking at my dad thinking, wow, this is weird, looking at me arm, man, while I'm tripping, like, because he's tripping as well. Like, it was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had in my life, because I only ever did it once with him, you know what I mean? And I regretted not doing it more, right? But this is the thing. My mum was actually laughing, right? And when he eventually came down, you know, like the next day, we woke up and everything, right? I said to him, like, and my mate, you know, the lad who was with me, he just laughed his head off. Do you know what I mean? He was like, I can't believe it, Johnny's tripping. This is so mad. Like, Bruce has actually done it. He's got his dad tripping, like, you know what I mean? So we had this massive laugh. The whole night was amazing. It was really, really good night because it was so funny, if you know what I mean, right? One of the best things I've ever done in my life, man. I advise anyone, if you got older parents, you know what I mean, and they might be a bit low, a bit fed up, you know what I mean. My dad was actually, a couple of years later down the line, he died of cancer, right? Lung cancer, right? But he must have had it when he was tripping, if you know what I mean. He must have had the lung condition, because he was ill, you see, building up to it. While he was tripping, all that was gone, guys. He wasn't coughing, he wasn't feeling ill, he felt like a child. He said he felt all his pain, all his stress, everything left his body completely for those 7 hours he was tripping, right? Next day, he enjoyed it so much. He's sitting down on the chair, and I go downstairs, and I was like, it was all right that last night, wasn't it? And he was like, and he was a bit serious, back down to earth. He'd got his, composed himself, because he was quite a placid dude, really, as a rule. He wasn't kind of like, childish or anything like. And he looks at me and he goes, can you get me some more? I was like, what? You want some more? Yeah, all right. He actually asked for more, right? And what we did was, the lad who picked them with me, he knocked on the door, and my dad spoke to him and said, can you get us some more of them? And, and I'll do them again, like. And he goes, yeah, I'll get you some more if you want, man. And I was going out somewhere, so I couldn't go back to pick some more mushrooms. I'd done my trip, and I was happy, you know what I mean? I'd had me trip for the year, like. And it's mushroom season now. We're approaching mushroom season here in Britain, like, so there'll be lots. There's one thing you can count on here in Britain, like, guys, throughout September, October, is there's going to be thousands of people tripping on magic mushrooms in some places. It's like a mad subculture in Britain, And anyway, my dad said he wanted some more, right? So the lad who he asked, he went and he specially went out and picked some more, you know what I mean? And I went out for a bike ride or something. I went somewhere, one of me little, days out, wherever. And he knocked on the door, the lad, with like, when you go to the chip shop and you get like paper parcel, like, and it was a little white paper parcel, and he's going, here's some mushrooms for your owl man, all right, Bruce, you know what I mean? Here's that, the mushrooms your owl man wanted, like, And I was looking at the parcel thinking, for me, man, yeah, right, I'll do them as soon as no one's looking, you know what I mean? Right. Now, when you do mushrooms, the golden rule is, if you've just had a mushroom trip the night before, you've got to, like, wait 2-3 days before you do another one, because the strength is weakened, you know what I mean? You've got to, like, leave it a week or a few days, and then you have another trip, and it's the same strength, but it's a well-known fact. British mushrooms, which are, honestly, British magic mushrooms, are really challenging, right, guys? This is why I can't understand why my dad enjoyed it so much. I've had a really bad trip on mushrooms, and it terrified me, right? But anyway, my dad was like, he wanted to do more. And this lad left the parcel of mushrooms in mine, and I put them on the shelf, and I was thinking, and he told me, Dad, they'd tell me, Dad, I said, oh, so-and-so's left the mushrooms for you there, Dad, if you're interested. And I said, oh, great, this is another load of mushrooms. And he goes, how do you do it? And I had to tell him how to do it himself, you know what I mean? I said, you put them in a pan and boil them with water, or you can eat them raw, you know what I mean? It's always best to eat them raw, though. That's the advice I give to anyone, never boil them or process them in any way, or you can dry them, can't you, and eat them dried, right? But anyway, I left the parcel on this shelf in the living room, in the back room, thinking my dad wouldn't. I thought he wasn't serious. Do you know what I mean? I didn't even think he was serious. I thought he was just, because he had such an exciting time, he might have just jumped the gun and thought, I'll do some more of them. But he might not have been thinking about what he was saying. Do you get me? Like, so I was thinking, when I get in tonight, and I went for the guitar jam with the lad who brought the mushrooms or something. I was thinking, when I get in tonight, if my arm hasn't took them mushrooms, or if they're still there, I'm taking them, like, you know what I mean? Because I felt like carrying on, do you know what I mean? I got in later that night, the parcel was gone. The parcel was gone off the shelf. And my dad was in bed, right? He'd gone to bed. I was like, wow. It was like quite late, you know what I mean, right? The next day, he gets out of bed, and I said, did you do them mushrooms, Dad? He went, yeah. And obviously it wasn't as exciting for him because it wasn't his first trip, but he must have focused on what was going on and, like, had a little bit more control, do you understand, right? But anyway, he did them mushrooms. He actually took that second trip, right? This was like within a couple of days of doing a mushroom trip. He took the second trip, right? And it was so mad, I didn't even ask him what went on or how it, because I wasn't with him when I wasn't there tripping, like. So I was like, was it okay? And he went, can you get me some more? And I was like, if you need them, yeah, I'll get you more. I said, but to be honest, the ones you've done, like, for a 70-something, you've actually done more than enough in your lifetime, really, to take you into that realm forever, basically. Because once you go through a mushroom trip, you're never the same again, are you? It changes your existence forever, like, because you can smoke weed and tap into mushroom trips from the past and things like that, They call it flashbacks, but it's not the same as acid. As LSD, it's different, like with mushrooms. But he'd surely wiped them mushrooms out, right? And he was so coy and controlled, he didn't even tell us what happened. And my mum woke up and I said, what was my dad like last night? And she said, I don't know, he didn't say nothing. He just sort of handled it and went to sleep, or he might have been lying awake all night, I don't know. It was so crazy, he didn't even exist while he was tripping. He went into another parallax, if you know what I mean, another journey, like, where he must have been, you know, he was a clever dude. He wasn't senile or nothing, like, he was going senile by then, but he wasn't totally senile or anything like that. But he must have really analysed them and really thought about what was happening and really enjoyed what he was doing as a kind of mature individual, if you know what I mean, 70-something. It must have been like Merlin or something, wasn't it? You know, magic mushrooms, old man on magic mushrooms, right? But that's my question, like, would any of us out there, would you give your parents a magic mushroom trip and not worry about it? Like, because I would strongly advise it, to be honest, like, because I had such a good time and so did my dad, right? But he wanted more mushrooms, right? And the sad thing is that a couple of seasons went by, and the problem was in England where I live, we had to trespass on a golf course to pick them. That's usually the best place in Britain to find magic mushrooms if you're not in the countryside, right? In the countryside, you can go to Wales and places like that, and, you know, Wales is my nearest, you know, rural country area, like. And look, see, Sherry Vera saying, never in a million years would you give your parents a mushroom trip. Highly recommend it, I'm telling you. It's really worth doing. I wish I'd have given me mum them now, you know what I mean? I really regret it, like. But anyway, a couple of seasons went by and I never went to pick any more mushrooms. But my old man still asked for more. He was still saying, can you get some more mushrooms? You know what I mean? And I was like, I will if I ever go picking them. But whenever we went on the golf course, it was getting worse and worse. And the golfers were threatening us, you know what I mean? So, you know, it got a bit ridiculous. So I didn't really, if I could have just gone and picked them without anyone bothering me, because they can call the police, you see, and have us thrown off, you know what I mean? We're trespassing, you see, when we're picking the mushrooms. So I never got round to getting them, like, but he would have done another trip, right? He would have done them again. This is a 70-something, right? What's that? He got hooked. Well, you can't get hooked on mushrooms, you see. You can't get hooked on them because they're just not addictive, you know what I mean? It's impossible. I mean, you can actually get fed up with them. I've reached the point where I've got fed up, you know, where I was thinking, I think I've done enough now, you know. But I've been reading the Don Juan books and all that kind of stuff, you know, Carlos Castaneda and all the shamanic stuff and all that, like. I did do heavy studies on it, like when I was younger, I actually did LSD before I did mushrooms, you get me, like. And my very first mushroom trip, I was with an ex-girlfriend and I gave her mushrooms as well, and we were walking around the street like a pair of lunatics, and I was just saying wow at everything, basically, you know. I had quite an amazing journey, like, you know. But the crazy thing is, like, my dad did ask for more, right? He wanted more mushrooms, and I never got him them, you know what I mean? And he died a couple of years later with lung cancer, basically. All that time he was tripping, he couldn't feel any pain, he couldn't feel any discomfort, he loved it, right? And that's why I recommend it, especially if you folks are, you know, if they got like arthritis or anything like that, or the wheelchair bound or anything. Man, if I owned an old people's home, they'd all be tripping, I'll tell you. I'll be putting magic mushrooms in the omelettes and everything. But yeah, man. How many people out there would give their folks a magic mushroom trip like that? I didn't think twice myself. And the lad who helped me pick them didn't see... And he was a sensible lad. He wasn't like a you know, brain dead or anything. He would have, like... I was waiting for him to say, you can't do this, Bruce. Don't do it. Don't give him the trip. It might go wrong. He didn't. He was like... We had this, like, sadistic selfishness to see what to see what an old man was like tripping on mushrooms, you know what I mean? He was loving it. He was laughing. He was happy. He said he had flashbacks, right? He had this whole... This was the interesting part of his trip, right? He had memories from when he was a young man that he'd completely forgot, completely left his brain. They'd gone, like, oh man, he had memories of classified top secret stuff from when he was in the Royal Navy, right? It's like he had this like classified information in his mind while he was in the Second World War, right? Regarding the Nazi secret weapons and stuff, right? And he was going on about it, going, I'm getting all these memories from when I was in the Navy, all these things that I like. It must have been hypnotised to forget things, you know, the way soldiers and military personnel forget things because it might be classified, right? So he had all these flashbacks to that where he remembered that, right? Big, huge chunk of his memory returned. A chunk of his memory returned when he said he remembered getting his best friend, this fella he used to hang around with, his best friend. He got him drunk and took him on a ferry boat to Ireland without him knowing, you know, for comedy. You know, back then you could just jump on a boat to Ireland from Liverpool or wherever, you know. And he just took his friend to Ireland while he was pissed for the comedy of waking up in Ireland and realising he's not in England anymore, you know what I mean? And he goes, I remember taking so-and-so on the boat to Ireland, and he went mad at me because he didn't tell him, you know, because he was buried, he didn't know what he was doing, like. Little things like that, man. He actually got a huge chunk of his memory back that he'd never thought he'd get back in a million years. Oh, man, there was a lot of crazy things, man. But the warp speed thing, when I saw the stars going into warp speed, I actually, like I said, I could have soiled my trousers. I actually thought, what have I done? You know, that was the first thing I thought, what have I done? The whole Earth is accelerating through space. What have I done, like, you know? And he was fine, you know what I mean? He loved it, like. So, you know, anyone who watches this later on, there's only still one viewer. Anyone who watches this later on when it's, you know, when it's up on the replay kind of thing, yeah, I'd love people to put in the comments section below, what would you do, you know, if you were in my place. I advise anyone, I tell you now, I advise anyone to do it, you know what I mean? If you got a granny, you got an old uncle or whatever, you know, they're a bit like slow, a bit sad, a bit, you know, when they're a bit miserable or whatever because they miss their husbands or wives or whatever. I don't know. My dad wasn't in that position. Obviously, my mum was still around and he was, you know, they're both together, like. But just watching my mum laugh was good enough, you know what I mean? My mum was in proper stitches laughing her head off, you know what I mean? Because he was acting like a 10-year-old, basically. He basically acted like a little kid. But it was really funny. And the lad I was with, he was laughing his head off. And he actually... he remembers that as one of the funniest things he's ever seen in his life, you know what I mean? And he's seen some mad things in his time, like. But yeah, man, an amazing social experiment that you know, and I really regretted not getting more mushrooms for him, you know what I mean? Because he died not a couple of years later, you know what I mean? I was like, oh man, I didn't get him them mushies, like he would have enjoyed that, like. But yeah, he didn't just do one trip, he did 2 trips. And the second trip was so good, he didn't even tell me about it. All he told me was it was fine, he enjoyed it, whatever happened in his mind, he didn't tell me nothing, right? All he said was, can you get me some more? And that was like, wow, this is a 70-something-year-old man. Man, far out. Well worth the experience though, you know. And I actually think I should have been in the Guinness Book of Records, you get me? Like, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, you know, the hippies, the commune hippies, the travellers. Well, they're used to doing mushrooms round the clock, aren't they, right? And then I take it that, you know, say the elders say that they, you know, they do mushrooms when they're younger. As they get older, they still do them. And there's got to be commune hippies and people like that who are in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they still drop mushrooms, right? But for a man to do his very first mushroom trip, 70-something, it's got to be a Guinness Book of Records, hasn't it, guys? What do you reckon? Do you reckon that's official? Guinness Book of Records, the oldest man to do a mushroom trip. Knowingly, you know, not like an innocent tribal man who's walking around the field picking mushrooms not knowing what they are, like. You know, he knew what was coming, like. He kind of, it was like a stunt man. It was like Evel Knievel riding a motorcycle over the buses, you know what I mean? Or across the Grand Canyon, like. It was the Guinness Book of Records. The world's oldest mushroom tripper, first trip, like 70-something. Come on, we got to have made history there, haven't we? And I could have been like, me and my dad were like the you know, like the the first father and son team to do a mushroom trip at the same time, like, and one of them's 70 something and I was 30 something or whatever. Quite funny, really. Okay, what time's it? It's 21:42 and I've been talking for nearly an hour, and I don't think it's worth me staying on live because we've got no visitors or other people watching. But anyway, I just thought I'd leave you with that, right? And I would like to see in the comments section. When I remember, I've got to alter this, the title and everything, when it's posted and published or whatever. So the question is, would people give their parents a mushroom trip? Sherry Vera says, never in a million years. Why though? I mean, if you're still watching. They never smoke weed, or I mean, honestly, there's the people in America and Canada and places like that. You've got, like, you know, the parents might be hippies or, you know, a bit psychedelic and stuff, you know. And I don't know. They might have already done it, mightn't they? I don't know. With my Alman, it wasn't his generation, you see. He was actually born in 1926, my Alman. So, you know, that's how old he was. I mean, he was 14 years older than my mum, to be honest. He'd been all around the world in the Navy and everything, and my mum was just like a young bride, and she'd never been anywhere, basically. You know, she'd never left town. She'd never even been on holiday. And he'd been all over the place, you know, in the Navy. So he's a bit of an adventurer, like, but, you know, there's a 14-year gap between me Alman and my mum, like. And, you know, when I was a kid in school, my friends' dads all seem younger compared to my dad, you know, because he'd been around and done everything before he got married, 33 or something when he settled down, or something like that, 34, I'm not sure, like. So, you know, he's a bit of an adventurer and that, like. But I always remember the kids in school, and I used to say crazy things like, wow, my dad's so old, his birth certificate's on stone, and stuff like that, because everyone else's dads seem to be young men, you know what I mean? Alright, but yeah, it was worth seeing my mum laugh as well. It was good to see my mum laughing her head off as well, which was cool. Like, alright, we made it to the magic, well, no, we're 57 minutes. We go for the hour, eh? We go past the hour. Yeah, so I've got a couple of stories to tell about the dog, you know, Duke the dog and my dad, the connection to my dad. Now that you're familiar with some of the crazy things my Alman was prepared to do, he was kind of, you know, yeah, he was game for the laugh. He was up for, like, you know, he was a stunt man. Have you ever seen Super Dave on YouTube? Check out this. If you're in Canada, I think Sherry Vera, remember correctly, she's in Canada, I think. There's a character called Super Dave. He's famous in Canada. He died a couple of years ago, didn't he? The actual fella who does it. He's like a stunt man, and he's on. There's loads of clips on YouTube he's called Super Dave. He's like a stunt man. It's like a parody of Evel Knievel, basically, right? But that's what my Alman reminded me of, Super Dave, you know, where he'd just do anything, like a stunt, you know what I mean? He'd go for it, like, he'd do all kinds of things for comedy, like, you know what I mean? He wasn't like a normal dad, like. He was a bit adventurous, like, even in his old age, you know. Liverpool Football Club, don't forget, you're all free to join Liverpool Football Club. Alright, I finished my tea. I thought I'd put something up to let you know that I've got some speeches coming up as well. Little bits and pieces. I've been busy sort of recording and practicing and little bits like that, and I'm waiting in the post. I bought printer cartridges for me printer, and I'm, you know, making me stage passes for me band project in the street or whatever, like me busking project. But with all this COVID stuff going on, it looks like we're going to have another lockdown, doesn't it, or whatever. So, man, it looks like the end of the world, folks, you know what I mean? Well, you know, let's leave the world behind and dance. Check out my song, 2011, A Dance Odyssey. Alright, I'm getting off. We've done the hour. There we go, 49, 50, countdown to the hour. We've made it past the hour. 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Ding! An hour. Right, I've been on for an hour, live stream. I'd stay on a bit longer, guys, but I only wanted to just do, like, just sort of let you know that I'm still here, and I will be back doing some more live streams. Yeah, okay. But highly recommend it, guys. Give your parents a magic mushroom trip. Give your parents a magic mushroom trip. Trust me, it might be the best thing you've ever done for them in their lives. And you know, our mushrooms in Britain, honestly, they're more challenging. And I've tried Ecuadorian mushrooms, and they were just so much easier to deal with than our British mushrooms. Honestly, if you can ever come over to Britain and try British magic mushrooms, you'll know what I mean. They are tough. You know what I mean? It's like a tough journey. And I think the American one's a little bit lighter, you know, a bit easier to deal with. Or, you know, the transatlantic, for anything from the other side of the Atlantic. But yeah, psychotropic days. I've done enough of my journeys, you know what I mean? I've literally peered through the heavens, basically, and I'm still alive to tell the tale. Okay, I'm getting off. Thanks for watching. Anybody who's still watching, it's 2 people. So I'll get this out and get the title changed and what have you. From Fallen Angels. I've still got more to talk about that, the Fallen Angels thing. I kind of lost me flow of talk because we were having a bit of a laugh on the chat. And I was making a point about the pineal gland, and I need to talk a bit more about it, right? So anyway, thanks for watching. Check out my musical videos, guys. Put your headphones on and have a listen to some of my tunes and my musical videos, because I do put trips in there and kind of, you know, all psycho. No, you don't have to do drugs. I've saved people. You don't have to do trips. You don't have to smoke DMT. You can just listen to my music with headphones. There's a whole psychedelic entity put in there to try and open the mind of the listener. It's not just music. I don't sell nothing. It's not for sale. You know what I mean? Okay, thanks for watching, and I will catch you up very soony and see you all very soon. And if Sherry Vieira is still watching, thanks for watching. And whoever else is watching, thanks for watching, and I will be back very soon. Ciao. Roller Coaster Ride signing off.